Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a virtual open house for the Centennial Certificate in Leadership and Inclusion. We're really glad that you could join us today and that you're interested in learning more about the Centennial Certificate in Leadership and Inclusion. We're going to walk you through some information about both of the organizations that have partnered to bring this certificate to you, the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion and Centennial College. We're going to tell you a lot about the certificate, and we'll share some information from past students. So our agenda for our session today, we're going to do some quick introductions of your two hosts. We'll talk to you a bit about Centennial College and the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion. We'll go into some depth about the certificate itself, what the learning outcomes are, the kinds of things that you'll be studying, and some of the materials that you'd actually engage with in the program. We'll share a number of testimonials and feedback from past participants in the program, as well as some screenshots of the online learning environment that you would be engaging with if you were a student in the program. So for introductions, my name is Cathy Gallagher-Louisy. I am the Senior Director of Consulting and Partnerships at the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion. I've been working in diversity and inclusion and corporate social responsibility for 14 years and have been with CCDI for 6.5 years. And I've been very blessed to be involved in this project with Centennial College since its inception about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm going to allow Richard Williamson, our co-host, to introduce himself.
Thank you, Cathy. This is Richard Williamson, as Cathy said. I am the instructor with Centennial College who will be your facilitator through the 4 courses that make up this program. Much as Cathy was involved in this project since the beginning, so was I. So we collaborated along with many, many others in developing and subsequently revising this program for you. On the next slide, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Centennial so that you have an idea of the organization that I'm representing. The college is over 50 years old. It's established in Toronto. It was Ontario's first community college. It's very large with over 25,000 full and well over 20,000 part-time students. This is one of the part-time programs that's being offered. The college offers many, many different certificate, diploma, and postgraduate programs. And this is one of the reasons why this program is offered, because it was requested by students that there was an interest and a need for this type of learning. The college also offers degree programs and increasingly is offering e-learning at distance learning, much as this program is, because this is 100% online and 100% asynchronous in order to increase access, because we have participants literally from coast to coast to coast. We have an incredibly diverse and international student body at Centennial, and that's one of the reasons that Centennial is an ideal partner with CCDI to have created this program and have sustained it for so many years now. On the next slide, I would like to tell you a little bit about what makes Centennial unique. The thing that really makes Centennial unique is the signature learning experience. A signature learning experience is something that is available and in fact indeed required for all students and all staff members at the college. It focuses on issues such as global citizenship, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And in fact, every single program has learning outcomes that must deliver on issues of global citizenship, equity, diversity, and inclusion in every single course, in every single program. So regardless of what a student is studying, it's always studied within the context of global citizenship, diversity, inclusion, and equity. And in fact, there is an entire Office of Global Citizenship, Education, and Inclusion at the college that helps to guide and support this work in an ongoing basis. In the next slide, Cathy's going to talk to you a little bit more about the CCDI.
Thank you, Richard. So the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion is a national charity that we work with organizations across Canada to help advance their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within the workplace. There's a number of different services that we provide to Canadian organizations, including networking and learning events that we do in cities across Canada. Currently, we're offering those in 18 cities across Canada twice a year, as well as 9 conferences in 9 cities across Canada each year. We have multiple webinars every month and those are on different topics related to diversity and inclusion, and they're also offered at different levels of understanding of the topics. We have created Canada's largest e-library on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we call that our knowledge repository. So it's full of resources, tools, templates, articles, videos, and we've been recording our webinars for the last several years and saving them in there as well. And we have been producing research reports and toolkits for a number of years that we offer for free for anyone to download that are available on our website. All of the research that we have done has been new, original research in Canada, and the toolkits are intended to help people who are trying to advance diversity and inclusion within their organization. On the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Canadian Certified Inclusion Professional. We added this slide because Richard has had a number of students in the program ask about being certified, and this is a certification that we offer at CCDI. So I want to be clear that you don't automatically get the CCIP certification after completing the Centennial program, but certainly completing the Centennial program could help you develop the knowledge and understanding that you would need to pass the exam. So our certification is similar to a lot of other certifications that are out there in different professional designations, like there's accounting certifications, there's HR certifications, etc., where there's a process that you have to go through with a third-party organization to prove that you have the experience and skills and knowledge to be certified in this area. So there's a lot of reasons why you might want to be certified. And certainly Canada is highly credentialized. People like credentials here. And this helps us to really show that diversity and inclusion and equity is a clear, profession with expectations that people need to be able to meet in order to do the job in a professional way, that there's knowledge and skills and experience that one would require in order to do a job like this. And so there's a process that you go through to complete the certification, and the certification is always available for people to sign up for, and there are certain times throughout the year when the exam period happens. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please do check out our website at ccdi.ca/CCIP-designation, and there's tons and tons of information in there, including the competencies that we've identified for diversity and inclusion professionals, as well as some study guides and other materials that can help people and guide people through the process. So next we're going to talk a little bit more about the Centennial Certificate in Leadership and Inclusion, and I'm going to hand it over to Richard to talk about some of the program learning outcomes.
Thank you, Cathy. So on the slide that's going to come up next, you'll see the learning outcomes for this program presented as 6 nugget points. As with any program in any post-secondary institution, there are broad sort of umbrella level learning outcomes. And the 6 that you see on your slide right now are the learning outcomes. So these are threaded throughout the 4 courses within this program. The things that you will be learning and addressing will include these very large, the big picture items. So the importance of inclusive leadership, defining your personal and professional values relative to the diversity and inclusion and equity. We'll talk about promising practices. We'll talk about cultural intelligence. We address issues such as effective leadership strategies, and we also talk about inclusive organizational change and how to bring that about. So these are not necessarily distinct items that are tackled within one course or another. Certainly there is some focus for a number of weeks within some of the courses, but these are really the broad outcomes that are threaded throughout all 4 courses. So these are issues that will continually resurface throughout, but they are ultimately the primary essential learning outcomes for the program. On the next slide, I'll be telling you a little bit more about the actual logistics of the program. So as I mentioned earlier, it's 100% online. There are 4 courses. Each course is 7.5 weeks long, and that's done in order to ensure that we can provide 2 courses in the fall, 2 courses in the winter, and that would allow someone to complete the entire program in the span between, for example, September and the end of April. So it allows you to complete in less than 1 year the entire program. We are often asked about the expected time that's required. We recommend 3 to 4 hours per week. If you set aside, that would allow you all the time you need to listen to video lectures or audio lectures, to do the readings that are required, and to engage in some of the online discussions and or complete written assignments. So that should be quite a fair amount of time to commit to the courses for each week. As mentioned, there were 4 courses. They are coded as CCLI. So we have CCLI 100, 200, 300, and 400. Each course has a particular focus, but then within those courses, we can certainly expand and go broader and deeper as needed, depending on the participants who are in the program. So the 100 course really introduces the content and the material we work with. So that's really looking at today's organization, the current context in which we work. From there, in the 200 course, we begin to move more directly into building capacity. So understanding inclusive leadership and beginning to build some capacity around inclusive leadership. From there, we move into what our title, Cultivating Cultures of Inclusion Through Organizational Change. So we examine very closely processes of change, how to bring about change, but specifically change relative to issues around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in the 400 course, we really move more specifically into what we call promising practices, but as well policies for inclusion and inclusive leadership, but also inclusion and inclusive leadership in organization where we have a culture of inclusion. And we need to look at promising practices because not all practices will work in all contexts. So we always have a lot of really dynamic discussion around what some of the issues are in different workplaces and what things will work well or will not work. So this gives you a big picture of what our intent is in terms of the 4 courses, but it becomes very personalized through your participation. You bring forward issues and ideas and knowledge that you can bring to the course, and that's worked with. That becomes part of the content and the material that we work with in the courses. So you will be able to have many opportunities to insert some of the specifics around the issues or that you want to learn about or that will be helpful for you in your work. On the next slide, I'm going to introduce some of the materials that you need. Essentially, we provide you with virtually everything that you need within the courses. So we'll provide you with all of the learnings, everything's a downloadable Word document, PDF, for example. However, we do recommend 2 particular additional texts. One book is called The Inclusion Dividend by Mark Kaplan and Mason Donovan. So we recommend that you purchase that because we do use that starting right off in the 100 course. It's also an excellent book. We will use sections of it, but it's a terrific book for broader use in this field. If this is an area of interest to you and you're listening to this right now because you are interested, so an excellent book to hold on to. The Diversity and Inclusion Handbook, the one that you see in the middle of the page, we use that starting in CCLI 200. It's more of a handbook. It's short. It's about 50 pages long. A lot of really solid information and supports in this. And for CCLI 300, you'll see on the right-hand side an image of the Harvard Business School. We do actually tap into Harvard Business School and some online simulations that we do around change management. So we provide you with 4 opportunities to engage in bringing about change in an organization. It's done completely online, and it really gives you an opportunity to look at what sorts of strategies can help and what sorts of strategies might hinder bringing about change at an organizational level. So this is always a very popular aspect in CCLI 300. It launches us into that course. And from there, we often dig much more deeply into what change means and how change is brought about and what works effectively. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the assessments. We try to make sure that we're providing the best possible learning opportunities. We do need to do a bit of a measure, and we pace you in a way through the courses, through the assessments. So within each course, there will be 3 discussion questions and 2 written assignments. So that's 3 discussion questions, 2 written assignments in each one of the 4 courses. The discussion questions are threaded discussions. So you would do a reading or a couple of readings, and then there will be a prompting question. You would respond to that prompting question by creating a post. Once you've created your post, you can then read the posts from other participants in the course and engage in discussion with them. You would post a reply, and inevitably these posts generate or initiate threaded discussion, and frequently these go on in great length, and also sometimes spanning several weeks, depending on what it is and how pertinent it is to an individual's need. So it's your choice as to how many of the discussion posts you respond to and the frequency. You log in and you respond as frequently as you wish. The 2 written assignments are topics that are where we feel that there's value in taking some personal time to do some thinking about or investigating particular materials, and then to do a bit of written work relative to those, because that will provide you then with an end product that you can take directly into your workplace. We frequently make slight modifications to the assignment so that we can ensure that what you create or what you do in your written assignment is something that is directly applicable to the work in which you're engaged in your workplace, or perhaps for something that you're planning for future. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the assessments are and what your expectations would be within the courses. I'm going to pass things back to Cathy to talk a little bit about who potentially could benefit from participating in our program.
Thank you, Richard. So back years ago when we were first envisioning this program, we thought that the main target audience would be middle managers. But as we've gone through the program, we see we needed to broaden that, because there's been quite a wide variety of people who have chosen to take the program, really everything from executive assistants right up to CEOs of organizations. So it's quite a diverse group of people who join the program as well, both in terms of their level within organizations and the types of organizations they come from and the types of roles that they're involved in. So we came up with a larger list of what we think participants might look like. So we say an experienced professional aspiring to leadership. And the reason why we say an experienced professional, this program would be best for people who have a couple of years of experience under their belt, because they're going to be asked to share about experiences that they've had in workplaces. So if a person was fresh out of school and had never had a job before, it might not be the best program for them, but anyone who's had a job before and a few years of experience, this would be a good program for them if they're interested in leadership development. Newly appointed managers, certainly entry-level managers and supervisors and middle managers are sort of obvious ones for a leadership development program. People that are transitioning or changing careers have often been a large percentage of our cohorts as we've gone forward. People looking for personal development who are really interested in learning more about diversity and inclusion and how to talk about it more effectively. People seeking a credential, and we've actually had a number of our participants who use this program specifically to credentialize themselves, either in terms of leadership succession planning or in terms of pursuing a career within diversity and inclusion, or both. People who are involved in their organization's diversity and inclusion initiatives. So depending on the organization, you might call it diversity and inclusion, you might call it equity and human rights, you might call it anti-oppressive practice, and there are people in many organizations who are involved in committees or councils related to these issues within their organizations, and sometimes they don't get a lot of information on what their role is related to this committee or council that they're involved in. So this program can really provide people with a lot of good information on how best to move things forward if you're involved in a committee or council like that. The other area that we looked at was people who are leading employee resource groups within their organizations. So an employee resource group might also be called an employee networking group, an affinity group, a business resource group. It really depends on the organization and what you call it. These groups tend to exist in larger organizations, and essentially they're groups of employees with similar identities or backgrounds that form groups to help, lead learning activities for the organization and developmental and networking activities for the members in their group. And sometimes they're involved in other aspects of supporting the business, which could be recruiting, it could be focus groups, it could be a number of other different things that they get involved with, and it's part of the support of diversity and inclusion initiatives in organizations. So there's quite a wide range of people who might be interested in this program. On the next slide, I'd like to talk about some reasons why you might want to recommend this program for your employees if you're considering it from that perspective. We've sometimes had people participate in our virtual open houses who are in a position to recommend learning for employees. And if you're in that position, we know that the research on inclusive leadership shows some really positive impacts to organizations when you have inclusive leadership. So I could probably provide you with 7 or 8 slides of data on this, but we'll stick to one for now. The first research study we want to cite there is that organizations that focus on diversity and inclusion gain quantifiable boost in employee engagement, and the inclusion does not come without inclusive leadership. The next one talks about companies with diverse leadership teams financially outperform those with less diverse leadership teams. And that, again, if you're not focused on diversity and inclusion, if you're not focused on inclusive leadership and creating an inclusive organization, you don't often get the diversity at the top in the organization. Team-based assessments of inclusive teams showed 80% better results compared to non-inclusive teams. And again, inclusivity in the team is very much impacted by the leader of the team and whether that they are encouraging inclusivity in the team or fostering inclusivity in the team. And inclusive talent systems predict the best and highest performing companies. So there's a lot of other research that we could share here. These are just a few nuggets. But this is a really great program that has been recommended in a number of organizations' learning management systems as potential development for managers and supervisors and anyone in the organization who's interested in leadership development. On the next slide, I want to talk about why you might enroll yourself if you're considering this program for yourself. So first of all, you're going to gain a better understanding of leadership and what it is and what it means to be a leader. You're going to gain leadership skills, and there's quite a lot of work on leadership development skills there. So we'd like to characterize this program as a leadership development program with a very strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion. You're also going to learn about change management methodologies and gain some change management skills as well. And as Richard talked about, that simulation that you get to work with, it's a really great simulation where you get to play around with making change in an organization. So you get to experiment in a way that's going to be safe, but you get to see the outcomes of doing change management in different ways. If you are passionate about creating inclusion, this is a great program for you to learn more about how to do that effectively. It has been used as a career stepping stone for a number of our past students, and we are so gratified to see students coming back to us and letting us know how this program impacted their career development. It is truly a unique credential in Canada. We've done the research. There's very few other programs like this, and there's no program exactly like this in Canada. So it's a great, unique credential that you can get that can help you in creating an understanding for others around you about the learning and development that you've done, both in leadership and in diversity and inclusion. And also, we find there's great networking opportunities in each cohort of students. Those students in the cohort really gel together. They're involved in lots of conversations. They're sharing information. And now there's a LinkedIn group for past students to continue to be connected and share news and information as we go forward. So there's hopefully a lot of reasons why you might want to enroll yourself. We're going to pass it back over to Richard now to talk about some feedback from past participants.
Thank you, Cathy. So before I launch into some of the slides that show you a little bit of information specific to some of the feedback, I also want to direct you to the Leadership and Inclusion Program web pages at Centennial College. We have a web presence. We have video there. We also have some written testimonials, and so you can review commentary from some past participants. But we really need to gather data on what we're doing and if it's proving to be effective. And certainly anecdotally, we get an enormous amount of that feedback, all positive. So you can sample a little bit of it on our web pages. I'm going to show you a little bit of information in just a moment here. When we first started to run the program, we wanted to get some really measurable results. So we created some statements and we asked people to respond with essentially a 4-point Likert scale with agree, disagree, strongly disagree. So on the first slide, I'll tell you what the statement was that we used, and you'll see the results. So in this one, in the top center, it says, This course provided me with knowledge and skills that will be useful in my career. And as you can see from the results, 100% of the participants we had in this strongly agreed or agreed that indeed the knowledge and skills that they gained would be useful in their career. So valuable for us to know that what we're offering people does translate into worthwhile information, knowledge, and skills for use in the workplace. On the next slide, this statement was, the course assignments furthered my knowledge and skills. And again, 100% of the respondents in this cohort said that yes, indeed, that the assignments did further knowledge and skills. And that's, again, very valuable for us to know that what we're asking people to do does indeed translate into valuable and worthwhile knowledge to have to take directly into a workplace. We have one more slide from this group. The statement here was, I would recommend this certificate program to a colleague or friend. And it's certainly recommending a program to someone is certainly a strong vote of confidence. And you can see that 100% of people agreed or strongly agreed that they would indeed recommend this. So we're on to the next slide now. And here's just a blog comment from one of the participants we had in a recent cohort. And so you can see that her statement is the incredible impact of the Centennial Certificate in Leadership and Inclusion. And she created a blog. So there's a web address there. So if you pause right now, you could take that web address and search what her commentary is. And she speaks in detail about our program and about how it benefited her. So if you, she's made that available publicly to anyone who has an interest in it. So some really direct talk from one of the participants who worked with us. So I certainly recommend you pausing, grabbing that web address, and then and continuing on. We now have several slides that provide some specific written information where feedback was provided to us in writing. So we have a testimonial here on the screen right now. I'll just read through it for you as you can follow along. So the Leadership and Inclusion Certificate program offered through Centennial has been an incredible learning experience. Not only am I able to access all of the information and curriculum online, the discussions led through the student forum provide unique opportunities to interact with professionals from multiple sectors. This course has given the tools to lead my team with a new approach. And the person has signed this. So very valuable comment here, and we wanted to use this because we felt it was part of the strength of our program is the fact that not everyone is in the same position, in the same kind of organization. It's that diversity of roles, the diversity of sectors, even the geographic diversity that we have participants literally from coast to coast to coast. We've even had participants from Europe take part in our program. So that diversity of experience contributes enormously to this, to the learning that happens. The fact that it's completely online just creates far greater access for people in all sorts of different circumstances. The next slide, again, will have a student testimonial. This person said, I'm in the current cohort of this course and I'm really enjoying it. We have a mixture of people from across the country with different levels of expertise, which makes for interesting discussions. I would recommend it to anyone interested in this topic. So again, it's that the strong commentary about the diversity of experience, the diversity of people, the diversity of roles in which they work, the diversity of their sectors, the diversity of their organizations. So it's the diversity within the courses that actually helps to strengthen the learning. That's really important because you get the chance to meet many different people in very different kinds of roles, and yet their participation and their involvement in the courses strengthens the learning that you can do in the courses. The next slide, we have another testimonial. So this person said, I've been in leadership positions for over 10 years, and the program so far has furthered my understanding of the importance of embracing diversity and adhering to equitable practices. It has provided me with knowledge and skills which I apply in my daily decision making. I look forward to completing this program and acquiring this additional credential as I recognize that organizations are becoming more diverse. One of the reasons that we really liked this comment was that the fact that this person identified that they took knowledge and skills from the kind of learning that we were providing, and in this case, this person said that they can apply it in daily decision making. That's really powerful for us to know that the kind of learning that we're offering can actually translate into support, day to day in work environments. So clearly it's valuable and it's very much to the point. So I think a strong comment about the kind of learning environment that we're able to offer you. The next slide, we have another testimonial from a student. This person says, I found this course highly beneficial in expanding my self-awareness while building key leadership skills related to diversity and inclusion. Participants benefit from CCDI's expansive D&I expertise, as well as Centennial's administrative support and user-friendly online platform. Both CCDI and Centennial are highly supportive and responsive to the unique needs of this diverse student group from across the country. I look forward to continuing on in this program and would recommend it to anyone interested in learning more about diversity and inclusion. If you're looking to learn more about a critically relevant and growing field, you've come to the right place. So we're certainly very appreciative that, such nice comments from this particular person. That yes, indeed, this person I think is correct in talking about this is a growing field. Even legislation is very much in the process of changing and addressing the issues of diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So obviously, knowledge about these elements of workplaces and workplace culture are really critical for anyone who participates or works in them. Interestingly, this person was, shortly after completing the program, was promoted into a new role which utilizes the knowledge that they had gained from this. So we were very pleased for this person. The next slide is a short one, but recently added because it was very pertinent. And this person says, prior to starting the program, I despised online learning. After taking courses facilitated by Dr. Williamson, and that's me talking, I now not only enjoy all of the benefits of online learning as a student, I even started teaching online courses. So I had a fair bit of contact with this person, and through their process of becoming, as when they were a participant in our courses, but then also as their career started to move along in different directions. And it was really quite fun to think that going from despising online learning, and somehow the experience with us at Centennial and through this program really shifted their thinking about online courses to the point where this person is now indeed teaching them. So we know that what we're providing is really engaging, and it's exciting to take part in these courses. We have people who log in early every morning just to see what the new updates are, who's posted and what the comments are and how the direction for the discussions. So obviously valuable and exciting learning that can take place. We now move on to our next slide to introduce the next section to talk a little bit about what the online learning environment looks like. So we have just a few screenshots just to give you a little bit of an introduction. So on this slide, you'll see what a page looks like. And at the very top, you'll see it says 18M, Understand Today's Workplace. So that's 18M is the year, so that was 2018. The M represents the semester, the time of year. The course title is Understanding Today's Workplace. And just beneath that titling, you'll see some what were at one time tabs, but now are just titled with drop downs. So you have content, grades, assessments, communication, and so on. Those are the buttons that you would be clicking on to move from one location to another. So content, for example, you would click on that and it would give you content for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on. So you would go there simply to locate the material that you need. It might be an online lecture, it may be an article or a couple of articles, it might be a short video. So that's where your content comes from. You probably then would click on the tab that says Communication, and you would arrive at the page that you see here, which says Discussions. This particular page, and you can see that just the top part of the discussion, which says Please Introduce Yourself. This is from CCLI 100, our first course, and the first thing we ask people to do is just to write a short introduction about themselves so they can introduce themselves to the others who are going to be in the cohort. So those tabs at the top that I've just mentioned are how you would navigate around the various pages. On the next slide, we'll show you another, but under the content that I mentioned, this shows you Module 1, and it says the ethical and business case for inclusion. And towards the bottom of that screenshot, you'll see in blue, Introduction to Module 1 and Week 1. So there's an introduction just to get you kind of launched into that week. And then below that, it says CCLI 100 Week 1 Video Defining D&I. So that's a video presentation. So this is the type of thing that you would locate. So we really are providing you within the course virtually all the material you need. So there's nothing additional to have to access other than the book and the handbook that I spoke about in an earlier slide. But pretty much everything that you need is contained within the web pages of the courses. If you take a look at the next slide, you'll see that this is a landing page. So when you first go into the course, you'll see like an image at the top with the title. And then what we do is we post a little chart that says the following are important dates for you to know. So we identify which week. It's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and the span of time, the date that the week begins, the date that the week ends, and then when various parts of the program, so if it's the first discussion question, when that needs to be completed, when the second discussion question needs to be completed, when a written assignment needs to be submitted, and that's done online as well. So it's just a little calendar just to pace you through the 7.5 weeks of our time. On the next slide, you can see the screen. We have video. We have some recorded videos, not every week. But when they're appropriate and when they're pertinent to the content that we're working with. So you would get a screen like this, and you just click on the arrow button to play the video. You can pause it. You can go full screen if you wish, or keep it in the window within a window. But one other thing that we've done here is we have the video for you. However, if you're the type of learner who prefers to do the reading, we also provide you with a transcript of the content that's covered in so you can either watch and listen to the video, or you could read the content as an alternative. So we try to provide some alternatives in the way things are doing to address personal learning styles and what works best for you. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the online learning environment and something that's really important. When you register, you're given access to Centennial. You'll have a student number and a password. You also get Centennial email. So it's called eCentennial email. It's really important that you know and you can locate where your Centennial email is, because all messaging from the courses goes through that email address. We can't use personal email addresses because it comes from within the course. You can change your settings to send Centennial email to a personal email address, but that's something you would do on your own. But you do need to know how to locate your Centennial email. So this is just an important message, because we don't want you missing out on any communications that happen, via email. So on the next slide, we have a link for enrollment details. So you have a tiny URL here, so Centennial CCLI. And that will take you to our course pages so that you can gather more information. You can see a video that has been created, learn a little bit about some of the participants and their comments. You can see testimonials. You'll see session dates, when the different courses are provided. And we usually put dates up for about 1.5 years into the future, so that you can make a choice as to when if you want to take the courses entirely in one following the other, or if you might want to take a pause of a couple of months. So take a course, take a break. You'll see all of the different options in terms of when you can take the courses, because we offer all of the courses 3 times a year. So there's lots and lots of access. So I'm going to take you now to our final slide, which is to thank you for being with us and taking part in this virtual open house. I wanted to have this slide up so that Cathy and I can say thank you for joining us, but also that you will see that our email addresses are there so that you can make a note of them and get in touch with us. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope that this has been informative for you to learn about the program and what we offer. I hope there's some evidence just in how we talk about this, about our strong interest and care and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in all workplaces. And that our high level of commitment, and we hope that you're as committed as you'll be joining us shortly. Cathy, may I invite you back in to provide any closing comments?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Richard. Thank you to all of you who have taken the time to watch this video. We hope that it was informative. Certainly, if you have more questions, feel free to contact either Richard or myself. We'd be happy to get you the information that you're looking for. And we do hope to see you enrolled in the program soon. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great day or evening wherever you are.